Welcome to KSOK Uncensored. Tonight's guest is an actress, model, social media influencer, wife, mother, and so much more. Pamela, I want to thank you for coming on KSOK Uncensored. You're in the middle of a move, you've caught a cold, and you're such a trooper for still coming on, and I appreciate you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I found you because I follow Lindsey Graham, Patriot Barbie. I've had her on the podcast before. And you, Lindsey, we have Kendall, I believe, you've started a clothing line. And I started following you because you were tagged and I wanted to support. And I have to say, you did something that's very unique. You had reached out and thanked me for the follow, which is probably your MO. And I have to tell you, that is very rare, but it really speaks to who you are as a person, but also as a business person. It's so smart because it opens up this communication where you can extend an olive branch. And I thought that was really cool of you. How long have you been doing that for? And what have you seen come from taking those few minutes to reach out to people?
Yeah, I think I started it probably 6 months ago or so because I felt like people treated me different because I did like
Mm,
acting and things like that. And I just feel like I'm a
right,
normal person. And so it really
right.
opened up, I'll have people who don't really respond to it or they just like it or whatever. But then I have
Yeah.
people who like tell me their life story. And I think it's
Wow.
really that I've grown friendships and people who trust me. And I've had this one woman who I love every single time she pops in my DMs, but she like literally is like, you motivate me and inspire me so much. And so I just appreciate you like always talking to me and getting back to me. So it's little things like that that have just made it so worth it, even though it's time consuming, because
Right.
I love the connections that have grown from it that could have otherwise just been overlooked and never happened.
Right. I love that message. And my husband does, even though I don't have the following you have, but I still have a lot of DMs coming in. And my husband's like, "Are you literally responding to strangers?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am actually." And I get something out of it because that's why put yourself out there if you're not tangible. And you don't have to make it to where, right? It's not like it's impeding on personal time, family time, time with kids, but we have the time. We can make the time. And I think it's fantastic that you do that. So I wanted to take time to recognize that about you. I want to ask you a
Thanks.
question. This is a get to know you question. Who were you in high school? Somebody asked me that recently, and I was like, that's a good one.
Yeah, I feel like I wasn't like a specific thing in high school. I definitely wasn't the popular kid. I was in choir. I did acting during the time. So every once in a while I would like try out for a play, but um, I wasn't super involved in a whole bunch of stuff in high school only because if I left, there was one point in my sophomore year they actually wanted to hold me back because I had missed too many days going on auditions and
Mm.
filming that they were trying to say that I, needed to be held back, but even though my grades were like perfect. And so my dad
Oh,
was my
man.
advocate, like stood up for me and was like, you're not making her repeat a year if she actually has good grades. That's not happening. So,
Right.
yeah, so I wasn't involved in sports or anything like that. It was like acting was my life and I liked to sing and that was it. It was like when every other kid was going out and playing after high school or like hanging out with their friends, I was like driving to LA with my dad going to auditions.
Wow. So your acting career started early on. How would you say that has shaped you to who you are today? Having that grind in you.
Yeah, I think I'm always been like a hustler or like I don't like group projects. I guess is the way to put it. Like I want it to be my success to be dependent on me.
Right.
And acting is, it's not anybody else but yourself. But I will say I saw a lot of things going, doing that business, and I think it's made me very much okay where it's like if I'm never famous or, you know, I'm not on a lead show, anything like that, it doesn't really matter because I've seen what it can do to people and I've also seen
Right.
what some people do for it. And to me, it's
Mm.
just worth, like basically to put it in a nutshell, like I don't want to sell my soul for fame
Right.
or anything like that. I'd rather go
Right.
out with people, a good person, than ever anybody knowing my name.
Yeah, I really admire that about you because so many aren't able to think outside the box and they push so hard for it that they do end up selling their soul in a sense, if not literally. Want to ask you feminism in Hollywood or what you've experienced. Feminism, I feel, was initially started as a way to empower women and for women to feel and be respected in the workplace, which I'm completely for. And so when I
Mhm.
talk to my mom, for instance, about being an anti-feminist, which is, I like to consider myself that now, she's like, but it served a purpose in, say, the 70s when she was working in offices and women were treated very poorly and seen as like a sex object pretty much. And so I think
Mhm.
we've come a long way, but as far as what you've witnessed, have you seen it to where feminism has become almost like anti-man, anti have a family, anti have kids? What did you witness there in that respect?
Yeah, I think it's completely that. I think I think so. For instance, I remember when I first met my husband, I was putting him on my social media, I was doing all that. Um, and there were other actresses and models, and they're like, I'm not going to put my significant other up there because it could potentially make me lose followers or miss out on a job. And I remember thinking, even back then, which this is 8 years ago going on 9, like, what a life if you have to like live a double life. Like I totally understand, like, even the people who don't want to put their kids on social media, like, I respect that 100%. But they still like acknowledge that they have kids, and that's like the difference to me. And so to me, it's like if I'm opening myself up to social media, acting, modeling, all the things that I've done in my career, like, you want to follow all of it. You don't want to just follow like a job, and then leave it at that. So but there is this very weird, like, stigma mindset. I don't know what it is, that if you get married, that means you have to sacrifice your career. If you have
Mm.
children, then you sacrifice your career, or you lose your body if you're in modeling, whatever it is. And I'm not perfect by any means. I don't pretend to be, but I try to amplify, like, you can be married, you can have children, and you can still succeed in life. And that doesn't have to be like the end of it, because actually, this might be a really good story. I was
Let's hear it.
up for a show, and I found out I was pregnant with my son. Obviously, we weren't trying not to have a child, but nothing had changed in 6 years, and so we were
Yeah.
shocked that we got pregnant. Um, so my husband's reaction was so beautiful, and then mine, I was like, I'm not going to be cast for this show that I was casting for. And I look back and I hate that I did that, but at the same time, I also am glad, because I have grown so much from that, where that was, I had worked so hard. I was at the producer stage. It would have been a life-changing show had I gotten it. My life would have never been the
Right.
same in a wealth way and in tons of ways. But um, I think that was God telling me, like, this is not what you need in your life, and I have other plans. And I'm like so grateful every single day. And I wish other women in the industry, or even just working women, would see that, like, it's not the end, it's just a new chapter.
Right. Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful story. And I've told people recently, I've opened up about this. Since leaving a 20-year banking career in March, there were times all I wanted to do was climb the ladder and be an executive. There were times where I wouldn't tell anybody that I was a mom. And obviously, the people that worked very closely with me knew, but when I would meet colleagues or other leaders, I never brought up the fact that I was a mom, and I didn't
Mhm.
even bring up the fact that I was married, to be honest. I mean, it was pretty obvious, but that just wasn't. I purposely withheld that information because I didn't want to be seen as someone that had ball and chain or three of them on my ankles. And really, when I look back and think about it, I became such a better leader after becoming a mother, and there were
Mhm.
so many positives. But I had that same mentality. I thought this is going to look poorly on me. I'm going to look like oh, she's going to have to call out sick for her kids, or, all of that women do get treated differently for. I purposely withheld that. And it's looking back, I can't believe I did that. I see why. But to your point, it's just a lot of personal growth that happens when you can feel free and really just be out there with who you really are. And that includes your husband and kids. So I think that's a great
Mm-hmm.
story. I want to transition into the fact that you are very physically fit. I know that you were involved in, was it fitness competitions? You've written a cookbook that also has a health element to it. Obviously tasty food, but an element to where you can almost like sneak in the veggies, which I think is
Mm.
fantastic. How do you I want to dive into your cookbook, but I want to ask you, what does a routine, a weekly, daily routine look like for you as far as what are you putting into your body, right? Like I talk about it because I'm really into more of a low carb. Not everyone does the same diet. I even hate to call it a diet, but what does your
Yeah.
lifestyle look like on a daily, weekly basis?
So because I was so restrictive before when I competed, I try not to be like as restrictive now. So I know a lot of women like have set like this is what you eat and that's it, like they don't deviate from it. I try not to do that because I feel like it actually like messed with me mind wise. um
Sure.
so I try to, balance things like in the morning. I feel like obviously protein is most important. So I'll do like either protein shake and oats or eggs and avocado, things like that. But besides that, I just try to always have like a healthy balance of, still eating like fruits and non-fat yogurt and vegetables with beef or chicken or salmon, whatever it is. We're getting a smoker when we get to the new house. So I'm really
Oh,
excited about that.
game
All the
changer
things I
for
can do
sure.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
But besides that, I just try to I may not be the uh main belief here, but I think that all of our nutrients don't come from our foods anymore. I think a lot has been like stripped away. So I just
Right.
try to make sure that I'm balancing my body with like all natural mineral replacements and supplements like that. Magnesium at night. I do magnesium every single night and like some
Yes.
non-caffeinated green tea with like fresh lemon in it. Little things like that I feel make a big difference, even though for some people they're going to be like, oh, that doesn't work. But I think that's really important, is finding like all natural, no toxin supplements to
Yes.
make sure you're getting everything that you want to be getting, but you may not be getting.
I am on board with you 100%. And I read recently that, to your point, that the nutrients have been stripped away so much, especially with GMO, all the genetically modified, that you have to eat 16, upwards of 16 times what our ancestors, not even 100 years ago, had to eat, more like 50
Mm-hmm.
years ago. So if they had a cup of spinach, let's say, we have to eat 16 times that to be able to get the same amount of nutrients. So what do you have a certain brand of supplements that you use?
Yeah, I do. A lot of I get from Modere because they're a made
Okay.
in the USA company. A lot of the other ones I get from Melaleuca. Um, so I mean, those have been the two that I feel like it's kind of like Trader Joe's. Like once you learn about them, you know that you're not going to get red dye number 40 if you go to Trader Joe's. I feel like that
Right.
with these two, trust what's there, and then I'm not having to research everything anymore. So I basically switched our households to both of those.
I like it. I've heard really positive things about them, and I think that's great. I also read that you got a degree in kinesiology, which I personally love, body mechanics, or how the body, it's really about movement. What led you to want to get a degree in kines?
So that's an interesting story too. I was basically told by my mom that I needed, if I was going to do acting and modeling, I needed to go to college, and I didn't have like basically a choice in that matter. And I was a business marketing major, and then I went through 2 semesters, and I felt like you can't teach business marketing. Like you either have it or you don't. Like you're not going to be able to teach me how you put together a marketing campaign. You're just going to
Right.
either have a good idea or not. So I decided, well, if I'm going to have to be here for 4 years, I might as well do something that I'm going to like somewhat enjoy since I don't want to be
Right.
here. And then how kinesiology came about. And so I finished and I got my bachelor's of science in it.
I love that because it is, I mean, it goes into, you understand health even that much more when you have that
Mhm.
background. So, yeah, I like this
Well,
story on that. It wasn't what I was expecting, which makes it fun.
well,
Oh,
and
that's
that's where I
fantastic.
love like when people talk to me on my DMs and stuff like that, because I'll have people so I actually do Modere, but I'll have people who message me and they'll think that they have a problem with something, and I'll ask certain questions because of my background in kinesiology, and I'll be like,
Right.
for instance, I break out with acne, and I'm like, okay, well, that's great. I could sell you like $400 in skincare if I really wanted to. However, like, are you on a good probiotic? Like, are your hormones in check? And they'll be like, well, no. And I'm like, great. Okay, so we're going to start with that because, and I've
Yes.
had like,
Yes.
I think that's the other thing I love about DMs is I've had people just give me these crazy, wild success stories of how much it's like helped them product wise. And I think that's where, once again, I just like talking to people because there's no point of social media if you're not going to have an impact or actually bring
Right.
something table. So it's been really fun that I can kind of use my degree, but also like really change people's lives with just asking a simple question and then, recommending some products.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about your cookbook. Tell us about your cookbook and really what led you to writing it.
Yeah, so it was a limited time cookbook, so it's not even for like sale right now. But if somebody really wants it, I'll send it to them. I don't care.
Nice.
But basically, I love cooking, and I always had people asking for recipes and different things, or like, how do you get your toddler to eat that? And so I
Right.
put together of things that my son would eat and my husband, who's very picky, would eat as well. And it's kind of, yeah, like you said, all the recipes have hidden veggies or fruits in them. So that way, if there's something that normally they want to eat, hopefully you're getting them to eat it. And then there's just some fun recipes in there too. Like, for instance, fries, like your kids are going to eat fries, but I have like where it looks like smiley face hash browns and they're cute. And so
Yeah,
just
I love
trying to like,
that.
yeah, just trying to like bridge the gap of like, I think a lot of people are intimidated by cooking if they haven't done it that
Yeah.
much. And it really is so simple as long as you just trust the process and follow the directions, and you're going to have a good tasting meal at the end of it.
I completely agree. I think that's great. For me, it was a lack of confidence. I always felt like, oh, I can't cook. So it was just my defense mechanism was just like, oh, I don't cook, right? And then my husband's a police officer, so he works crazy hours. I would take before kids all the alone time that I had, and I would just cook without anyone. He wasn't even there, so he couldn't even tell me it tasted awful or anything like that. And I just started cooking and cooking, and my confidence built. And now I just go on Pinterest. I'll be like, I can cook anything I want to or bake anything. It's just the
I,
confidence. So I think that's what a lot of people lack when it comes to getting in the kitchen.
yeah, I completely agree.
So I want to moving into you've aligned yourself recently with a few outspoken patriots, and I think it's amazing. Back to the clothing line, it's the Pretty Patriot, is that right?
Pretty Little Patriot.
Pretty Little Patriot. I love it. And so that's with Lindsey Graham, Patriot Barbie, and Kendall in Kentucky. So two very outspoken conservatives in that space. And how was this born? This brand, because it looks like you guys are doing it in a very condensed amount of time, which is fabulous. I love that because it sounds like you like having that fire under your feet, which is great.
Yeah.
Talk
I
to
mean,
us about this.
I don't think we tried to necessarily put ourselves under a timestamp. I think we just accidentally did it to ourselves. But we were at a Turning Point event, and we basically, it all came up simultaneously. We all had thought about having a clothing or a fashion brand, but didn't want to do it by ourselves. Like, we literally all had this conversation with our husbands singularly, telling our husbands like, we would love to do this, but not by myself. It's just not something that we want to take on.
Right.
So when we're all talking, saying like, we all have the same dream, we've all told our husbands, we all don't want to do it by ourselves. It was like, well, why don't we do this? This makes no sense not to do this. And so that night we had, finished Turning Point, and we went to a restaurant, and we had already figured out what our emblem was going to be and had it drawn on like a cocktail napkin. And like on a receipt later that night, we had our other emblem and like the name put out. So on 2 days later, we already had our first calls for the business, like getting the logo, website, everything, PR company. So it's been super fast, all amazing. We've hit a couple of roadblocks, but literally we think God has his hand on this company, because whenever we have a roadblock, it's fixed. It seems like within 24 hours, like even better door is opened. So connections that we've made, just the people who believe in the brand and want to be behind it, has just been surpassed anything that we would have ever thought. So we're so excited. It launches September 12th. We have a landing page right now at prettylittlepatriot.com, where if you enter your email and your phone number, it'll notify you when we're launching, and get you like some updates, so you're the first to know. But it's really amazing, and you're going to shop awesome fashion pieces without supporting any woke ideologies. So that there's never going to be anything supported in June, and we're never going to have men modeling the women's clothing. So
thank you. That's appreciated. That's appreciated. My goodness. That's amazing, because that's something else I've seen from you, that you like to ensure that you are not, and your followers are not supporting woke companies. Talk to us about how someone can avoid doing that, because it's pretty obvious when it comes to Bud Light. We've all seen how that ended. Target, Disneyland. Most people I know don't go there and don't support that. But so those are pretty obvious, but there's so many that we just aren't aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Public Square. I feel like it's an app, and it's super easy to use, and you can look up any alternative that you're wanting, whether it's a razor blade, toilet paper, things like, I'm moving this month. That's why if you're looking at my background, it just looks like a hot mess. We just got home decor for our new home off like companies that we found on Public Square. So I always tell people, you're used to Amazon, and unfortunately, I think Amazon has actually taken a lot of, I don't know what the exact word is, but everybody expects everything like this instant, and that's not actually the best way to live. So the 2 seconds, instead of the convenience that it would take to go on Amazon and find a company who agrees with every one of your values, and you're supporting a small business, because everybody wants to say only 1 month out of the year, shop small, and that's all they want to support. But then, like, what about the rest of the year? So you're shopping these companies where your purchase is actually life-changing to them. Amazon, if you're purchasing from Amazon goods now, that doesn't change anything for them, because they're going to make money whether you shop them or not. So like, let's actually do what we did to Bud Light and Target and move our business to Public Square. And maybe we actually could do the same thing we've done to those two companies to Amazon, and then you'd instead be spreading those dollars out among all these amazing people who truly care about sale. So I love that.
What's the mechanism? Or is it, so it is online shopping and it's condensed, where everyone that's on there has aligning morals? Or, okay, I didn't know if it was like do you scan a QR code, or do you enter a search, like a company name, into a search to see if they're woke?
Yes. So it's not even that. They literally have a process. So businesses apply, and they will actually vet businesses. So that's what's really cool about them. I know people where they actually were conservative, but their website might have said a little differently, and they were like, sorry, like, tell your friend. Great, but unfortunately not until stuff like that is fixed. So I really love
that. Great to hear.
Yeah, they stand up for what they say they are. They are the best people there. They actually do what they say they're going to do. So it's not, well, you can search a company, but you can also type in the search bar, like I said, like, let's say razor blade, because you don't want to buy from Harry's. So you would type razor blade, and then like Patriot Shave would come up, and all these other companies. And so there's something for everyone, and it's only expanding. And you can also search locally. So if you're traveling or in your hometown, you can search what's around me. And like, my husband and I have gone to restaurants that are on Public Square, and switched our carrier over to Patriot Mobile because they are a conservative Christian brand. So
Right.
I think that's like the big thing is just, it's convenience, but is convenience worth what your marketing dollars could be going to? Because a lot of people don't know your sales help fund their marketing initiatives. So if they're taking marketing dollars and potentially using it for abortions, are you going to feel good about that
Mhm.
at the end? Know that every company's doing that, but why not just take the 2 seconds and look on Public Square, and then you never have to worry that your money's going to anything like that.
Yes. Yes, that's powerful. And I know what you're talking about. It's the Amazon effect where everyone expects things in 1 to 2 days. It's not even 2 days anymore. It's like you can get stuff the same day you order it. It's almost like it's unnecessarily fast. And I completely agree. It's all about, people like to complain about the situation we're in as a nation, but not a lot will actually do something about it and take the time. Like you're saying, instead of getting it in 2 days, how about you align your values and shop a company that stands for what you stand for? And maybe it takes a week to get to you, but
Mm.
it's well worth it. I think that's incredibly powerful, and more people need to do that. And what do you have to say to the person? There's a lot of there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there, and they like to pretend to be conservative, and I like to call them grifters, but maybe they're photographing themselves while they're at Target or they're at Disneyland, and they just seem really out of touch. What are your thoughts, or what do you have to say to the type of person that is speaking out both sides of their mouth?
Yeah, so I actually have a tough time with this one only because I am obviously for us standing up for what we believe in, right? However, like I am super conservative, super Christian, and I have like in one instance used a song by somebody in a reel and had people freaking out on me because the artist had done something in the past that I didn't know about, because guess what? I have a child and a life and I don't research everything
Yeah.
20,
Yeah.
especially when I'm choosing a song for a reel. So I like to tell people a lot, ask questions before you just go for the jugular, because people don't know what they don't know. And instead of just
Right.
accusing somebody of doing something when perhaps maybe they don't research 24/7 like you do and know everything going on politically, you can
Right.
educate them in a polite way, and then what they decide is what they decide, because at the end of the day, we are in America where we supposedly value freedoms. So
Exactly.
I think that's like the best thing that I could suggest, because when
Yeah.
people have done it to me, I am just like, are we serious right now? Is that what we're doing with our
I
lives? When I
know.
don't post at Target or anything like
Yeah.
that.
We like
So
to eat
I
our
think
own, which is unfortunate.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that that's what's really weird about us compared to leftists is like, why do they stick together and will defend
Right.
their people till the people could be literally committing crimes and they
Yeah.
defend them, but we could use the wrong song, or potentially,
Yeah.
maybe that mom that we're like, you're super conservative, literally had ran out of her last diaper and was like, if I don't get a diaper right now, I'm not going to make it the rest of the day. And so maybe she
Yeah.
had to go to Target. I'm not saying it's right,
Right.
but like, let's give
Right.
people the benefit
Yeah.
of the doubt that like, they actually believe in what they say, and just ask questions. That way you're not making,
Right.
maybe she's having a bad day and you're making her day worse.
Right.
So I think that's
Right.
the thing is just kindness, ask
Yeah.
questions, and
I
be
have a lot of
nice.
respect for your answer, actually. I've been on the receiving end of that too, and wow, do I really think like 10 times before I post anything now. I've been ripped apart. And I know we're just up on time here, but I have to share. I posted the epitome of that is I was in Boise. Now I won't say Boise ever again because I got my you know what reamed out. But I was in Boise downtown. I was just commenting. Literally, I did a quick non-thinking video. I just complimented how clean the city is, coming from Portland, how disgusting it is. It was the most innocent video ever. For some reason, it went viral and it has almost 1 million views now. And I literally ticked off almost the entire state of Idaho, was called a liberal probably 20,000 times. I had hateful DMs. These are all conservatives. How dare you spread your disease? It was insane. It was insane. And I told my husband, whose dad is Jewish, I said, I felt like a little tiny, tiny, tiny piece of what it felt like to be Jewish when when the Holocaust was first happening, where they're telling you you're dirty, you're diseased, I couldn't believe the way I was treated just by complimenting a city. So they thought I
Yeah.
was liberal, clearly. But so I agree with you. We can't have that knee-jerk reaction. It doesn't do anything for anyone. It's actually quite toxic.
Mm-mm.
So I
Who would want
appreciate
to
that
join
very
our
much.
movement if we treat our people?
I know. I'll tell you, I'm never moving to Idaho. I can tell you that. I was like, thank you guys. I will not be moving there ever. So thank you for that. But yeah, so that's what that did. So I want to thank you so much for coming on. This has been a great conversation. You're doing so much. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I am Pamela G. Noble pretty much on every single platform you can think of. And then Pretty Little Patriot is Pretty Little Patriot on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And Twitter is PLP USA.
All right. I'm excited to shop that website because I know you guys are going to make it nice, cute, and feminine. There's so many brands out there. It's really cut for the man. It doesn't do anything with nice for the chest or any, I just feel like a dude in half the stuff. So I'm excited to see what you guys are going to come up with because I know it won't be that. Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, thank you for tuning into KSOK Uncensored. We will see you next Thursday.